My job is to stand here for my friend, stand here for the children with albinism that were torn apart and their limbs were used. I'm here for them. They didn't have a voice. They can be heard through me. They can be seen through me, or any person who ever felt like they were not good enough.
You're listening to Artistry with Heart, a musician's wellness podcast. I'm Stephanie Lynn Bernards. Today, we are having a conversation with LaRhonda Steele, a powerful, award-winning blues and gospel singer and songwriter who is widely recognized as one of the region's best rhythm and blues vocalists. LaRhonda has been dubbed the First Lady of Portland Blues, a title of leadership that she lives up to as she shares songs that carry forth directly from her soul and spiritual life force. LaRhonda currently fronts the LaRhonda Steele Band and is the music director of the nonprofit Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir. She was inducted into the Oregon Music Hall of Fame in 2020, was the proud recipient of the Oregon Folklife Network's Traditional Arts Apprenticeship Program Award, and the Cascade Blues Association Best Female Vocalist Muddy Award, among many others. LaRhonda's voice can be enjoyed on a number of recordings of national and international artists and has a broad discography of her own, such as Artistic Differences, My Soul's Song, Rock Me Baby, Yes Please, and Songs of Freedom. LaRhonda, I'm so honored to have you with me today. Welcome. So you are such a beautiful and important spirit in the musical world, LaRhonda, and you give so generously of your gifts in a way that is both inspirational and motivating. When I hear you sing, I feel like I'm accessing your soul. It has been such a privilege to study with you as I continue to develop my own vocal skills. You really have such a beautiful way of bringing people with you, no matter where they are on their musical journey. And I'm just so excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, LaRhonda, just do you mind telling me a little bit about your earlier years, how your musical journey got started?
Oh, let's see. When people say, when you hear the term, I was born into it, that's kind of what it really was, what it really is. My mother and her sisters, my aunts, they sang together in a quartet. My grandpa was a Baptist evangelist, so he would travel around to different churches, and he would have my mother and her sisters sing a few songs before he preached. So they became this wonderful ensemble, and my mom sang tenor. And so growing up, we were always involved in church and in singing. Either my mom would be rehearsing or she would be in the choir with the church, and we'd be at church singing the congregational songs. So that part of music has always been with me. Also, we had music in the house when we were growing up. My sister and I we had to clean the house. So I don't know where my parents were on Saturday mornings, but they seemed to be gone, and my brother too. So
somehow that job fell on you.
So my sister and I would turn the radio on to, I think it used to be KBMS, or anyway, to the black station, had one in Oklahoma. We'd turn it up and we would clean the house to the OJs, to Marvin Gaye, to Sam Cooke, to Aretha Franklin. Music has always been such a part of our lives, either just listening or performing it.
Yeah. So just throughout your earlier years, you were surrounded by it. And then what was that moment where you really started making it your own?
My sister invited me to this church called Pleasant Ridge Baptist Church. It was in Jones, Oklahoma, because my mom had since then stopped going to church. So we found a church, and they had a youth program, and the church bus would come by and pick us up. Yeah. And so we go to Jones, Oklahoma, which wasn't really far. It's about a 15-minute drive. And we started going to that church, and then we were invited to be in the choir. And I had never really been in a choir before. I was about 13. So my sister is 4 years older than me. So I just did what my sister told me to do. I went where my sister went because my parents were like, you take your sister with you. My big sister was like, oh. But we got in the choir, and then I was asked, well, my sister and I were asked to sing the lead on a song. And so we both shared the lead. And once they heard us, then that was that. Once your talent is found out at a church, then they will, well, most times they cultivate that talent. So every Sunday I was singing something, or, directing the choir because I knew the music, because that's what I did. I just loved music. So I learned the music inside and out. And then we come to choir rehearsal, and I seem to be the one helping move the song to the next section. So it was I was 13, and we sang that solo on a Sunday morning, and that was the beginning. Yeah.
Wow. And then from there, what was the launching point where you have been inducted into the Oregon Music Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. That happened in 2020, which is such a huge accomplishment.
It was amazing.
Yeah, you're dubbed like the first lady of Portland Blues.
So I've been a part of the Waterfront Blues Festival for quite a many years, maybe 20 something years. Just so blessed to be a part of it. And I'm not sure if your listeners know who Linda Hornbuckle was. So she was like the queen of the blues around here for a long time, and traveled all over the world and country, representing Portland blues. And Janice Marie Scroggins was a incredible pianist, and they were a duo. So anyway, Janice introduced me to Linda, and we all kind of became really good friends as well as peers musically, So Linda got diagnosed, I think, with kidney cancer. And as she was making her journey through it, making her transition, Linda couldn't do certain gigs. So they invited me along with other vocalists to sing in her stead. She may be able to do one or two songs, and then we do the rest of the set, just being there in support. So Ken Body was aware of this because he stays really connected to the music community. Mm-hmm. He's really a fan of music. And so he saw Linda making the transition, and he saw others of us kind of stand in the stead for her. Mm-hmm. And so that's when he dubbed me the first lady of blues, because Linda was the queen, so I could be the first lady of blues.
Not going to take the title of queen.
No, don't want it. Mm-mm. So, and when he said that, I was like, oh, that's cute. And then it just stuck. Yeah. And so I started using that, and other people heard him say that. So that's how it got started.
I'm so glad you shared that story.
Yeah.
Both so that listeners can learn about Linda Hornbuckle. Yeah.
And Janice Marie Scroggins, African-American women here, in the blues scene. There's so few of us, so they stand out even more that way. They were incredibly talented, incredibly entertaining, and just hard-working women.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I'm sure they would be proud that you carry the title of First Lady. Boy. Yeah, you are a force, and I know they were too. So did you choose the blues, or was it the other way, or the blues chose you? You came from this gospel background.
When I came from Oklahoma, I had graduated college, and I moved here with my aunt. I have several aunts in this area and an uncle. So did I choose the blues, or it chose me? You know what? I think I chose it. Although I was chosen to be a part of the Norman Sylvester band when he heard me. Uh-huh. And so that was like my first real professional band and professional gig. Yeah. So, I worked with Ken Berry and Time Sound just a little bit. Yeah. And some other friends of mine. So I have to tell you this story. Some of my first gigs were with Time Sound, doing some R&B and stuff. And Ken would say, okay, we have a gig on next week, Friday. So us girls would, of course, have to get our hair done, get our nails done, and find an outfit. So we ended up being in the red behind each gig. It's like I spent $100 and I only got $50. That's okay. It was fun, But I got a little wiser when I started working with Norman, because Norman was working all the time. And so it was like the real professional musician. This is what I do,
Yeah.
And he is a great blues man and blues songwriter. So that's kind of where I started to learn a lot about the blues, and I chose it. It chose me. Which came first?
Yeah.
The egg or the hen? I don't know.
Yeah. I just thought, I was just curious, because sometimes I feel like some people have a strong feeling one way or the other, and and it is.
I chose it because blues and gospel to me are they're very close in the way of being able to express emotionally.
Yes.
So I grew up in church, and I love singing gospel. I love the way that felt. I love to emote, and I love to praise, and so blues actually helps you on that deep human level of everyday life. Like, my man left me, and I can't, and I'm crying all night long, that kind of thing. Just kind of like get those emotions out as well. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. Well, that is so evident. And every time I hear you perform, like I said earlier, I feel like I'm accessing a part of your innermost being, like your soul, and I think it's because you draw in that element of gospel, right? Where it's like, you have this bigger picture, but you're also like deeply in the human part of it too. And like, that is just something an audience member can so deeply feel.
I'm glad, because that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we all strive for as performers, is to make our audience feel something and be a vessel. And you do that so clearly. So your mission is clear.
Yay!
So I also want to just touch on briefly that you're the director of the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir. So not only are you out performing and impacting audiences, but you're also encouraging other people to do that. I would love to hear if you could tell me more about your involvement with this and what the inspiration behind becoming the director of it was.
I got involved with the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir maybe about 10 or 12 years ago. Okay. As I mentioned before, Janice Marie Scroggins, she was the piano player for it, for the group, and it had just started. It was a baby choir, and the previous director, I think she sang background with the Mamas and the Papas. It was some group she sang background with, and she would go out from time to time, but the choir still needed a director. So I was invited to be to teach, songs while she was out. And Janice would ask me to do things, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I directed choirs when I was 15, It's been 20 years, Janice. But and she was always like, oh, you can do it. Janice was just that way. And so oh my goodness.
Love that.
So anyhow, I taught a couple of songs, and the choir loved me, and I loved Janice, and I loved them, and it has become it has lasted for over 10 years. And it's gotten better and better and better. The mission of the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir is to teach gospel music, and what I understood that to be was Black gospel music, because it's the art form. Gospel music comes from the mixture of the African and the European influences, and thus you have gospel, Black gospel. So that part was full circle for me, because I got to go back to where I started from.
Yeah.
And so its mission is to teach this art form, this American art form, and that the interfaith part of it is that it's not a religious endeavor. It is a cultural exchange. It is a cultural. We not only teach the songs, we teach about what was happening in the Black community, what was happening for us socially, economically, religiously. We talk about the writers of the songs and their discography or their history. And so we get really involved with all of the aspects of the songs. And I like to teach a spiritual where we go way, way back. Moses Hogan was has some great songs that he's taken, and they're Negro spirituals. And then I love to teach, like, I call them like the 2-beat gospels, Mississippi Mass Choir, Georgia Mass Choir, that kind of and we talk about that style. And then I also have to teach a contemporary, though. I mean, contemporary gospel is, it's okay.
Yeah.
I like, like we all, I like my age of music, but I love some of the contemporary gospel too, like Kirk Franklin is wonderful, and Hezekiah Walker. So over the past 10 years, we've educated, and we've seen people actually just open up emotionally and spiritually. We come together as a group on Monday nights, and we sing together, and it becomes a community. I love to be around community, and I love to watch people open up and grow. So that's been amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine that you're a really wonderful facilitator of that, because that is so on the forefront of what you're wanting for folks.
And I get to watch it. I tell them all the time, thank you for allowing me to stand in front of you and teach you, because, these are a lot of older people, and they allow me to come in and teach them something different. And I have to do that with grace, and I have to do that safely and make a safe space, because some of the intricacies and the rhythms are foreign to a lot of people. And in order to teach them authentically, there's patience and there's grace that must be extended both ways. And then once I teach it to you and you don't get it, then I have to get mad. And say, no. What are you doing? Stop singing white. No.
Hey, you know what? That is the mission of the choir. This is a culture experience, people. Like, so y'all gotta sing.
You have to sing it authentically. This way. Not your authenticism, but
no, the way that's authentic to the culture of the music.
Amen.
Which is why everybody's there.
Yes.
Yeah. So the combination of all the performing that you were doing, and the recording and the teaching, both individually, which I've experienced, and is so wonderful. I've gained so much. Oh, well, thank you.
Such a beautiful voice.
Oh, you're so sweet. No, you've helped me grow so much, and I also just think that you do such a wonderful job of helping people really embrace their voice, their own true voice, and their sounds. Yeah. So I love that about you. And I feel like it takes a level of depth for someone to be able to draw that out of someone else. Mm-hmm. So I would love to know, like, if there is any sort of event in your life that you could point to that maybe has informed the musician you are today, or has maybe contributed to how you relate on a human level to your students.
I am an African American with albinism, which is the lack of pigmentation in the hair, skin, or eyes. And they call that ocular albinism or cutaneous albinism. I have been blessed with both. Wow. Oculocutaneous albinism is the, what would you call it? The genetic condition. Yeah. Okay, genetic. And so my family is normally pigmented, and I'm the only one who has albinism. So that has structured my entire life, and that has caused me to actually learn to look beyond the outside, because I was very much criticized, and if you know anything about the African culture, they would kill albino people.
What?
Presented as albinos. Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
Oh, I kid you not. So people with albinism babies would be dismembered.
What?
They would be killed because they thought they were demons. So I am obviously an African American, but still, if you believe in genetic, memory, DNA memory, I was really ostracized growing up, and sometimes with my cousins and other people, they were embarrassed, and my mom would always be there listening to me cry, and they just hate me. And my mom would say, "That's just them, honey. They're ignorant. They don't understand." And so when I found that I could sing, and when I found that that was a way for me for people to feel safer around me or to feel a connection with me. That was, in my youth, a deciding factor. People liked me when I sang because I sang well, or I had the nerve to do it. So that was one of the driving forces when I was younger. And then I got to a point of where it just became deeper, understanding the spiritual side of it and wanting to connect even more that way. So the music then turned into a ministry of helping, because I was helped so much by music. When I was lonely, when I was being mistreated, I'd turn my radio on and I'd sing. And the sounds of Luther Vandross would allow me to cry, or the sounds of, I love Angela Winbush, would allow me to be somewhere safe and beautiful. And so that has been the driving force since then. It's a ministry. I want to help someone who is like me feel loved, feel cared about, feel seen. That's a big deal for us to feel seen and heard. So that's I'm getting tingles because that's really where my ministry is right now. And I've been diagnosed about 10 years or so ago with stage 3 breast cancer. And then after COVID, I moved into stage 4. So during the past 10 years, there's been just this soul searching and really getting to the bottom of why I do what I do. Because during COVID, so many of us lost our ability to minister or to make money. It shook us up because it's like, well, what do I do? What do I do with myself? Who am I? If I can't sing, who am I? So since COVID and since the diagnosis of stage 4, but through this regimen and also through just positive thinking, it's like, I am not this disease. I will not lay around and cry about it, though I had to, of course. I'm not saying I'm, made of stone or anything, and I have cried. And I have said, God, what the heck? What's going on here? Yeah. And it just it makes me be even more present. It makes me even be more grateful for the relationships I have with people, grateful for the music that gets to flow through me, which is healing, grateful for my family, grateful for life, even though I'm in pain every day. That's just what that is. I am a fighter. I will not lay down easily. So, and the music and the community really keep me going. I love the choir. I love all of the interesting personalities. Right. And I also love how this collection of so many different people who aren't even necessarily religious. That's what I wanted to say about the interfaith part. You don't have to be you don't have to be anything. You just show up as you are. You can be an atheist. You can be a Buddhist. You can be a Christian or not, or agnostic. It's about wanting this cultural exchange, wanting to feel what gospel music can do through you.
Thank you for sharing all of that. That is, I am always hanging my hat on this concept that hardships that we face in life, if we find a way to heal or use it to make us stronger or find the right community, can allow us to access our humanness and therefore allow healing for others. Yes. And it sounds like that's exactly what you do.
You've said it concisely and beautifully.
And I think just because I think we always have a choice in life, I think, especially when we are handed something so difficult like what you faced. Yeah. And to be a victim of it or a victor of it, that is so deeply inspiring to people around you, because it's one thing to get up and perform like you do, being this like powerhouse vocalist that like literally gives people goosebumps, and I'm not exaggerating. That is the kind of performer that you are. I deeply believe it's a testament to all of the work that you've done and continue to do. And people feel that, right? Like, and that's why people are inspired to get up too, because you daily choose to do that.
I choose to be happy. I choose to be free. I choose to be healthy. Yeah. A lot of songs come through my head right now.
Like what?
I won't back down. That's the only part I know.
Yeah. Well, that's the most relevant part of the song.
Yeah.
So, oh, golly. Thank you so much for sharing that. Kind of along this similar vein of just like the journey and being an artist that's putting themselves out there and having a story, because we all do. As a composer, instructor, performer, how do you deal with the inner critic or inner judge so many of us face if it shows its face to you? I find that personally, this is a musician's wellness podcast, so it's meant to be a resource for people who are out in the ring doing it too, or aspiring to do it. Any kind of creative musician, any kind of creative in general, just takes a lot of vulnerability, and with vulnerability comes a lot of risk.
Yeah.
And I think that creative people struggle with this level of vulnerability and struggle with the inner critic. So could you speak to that at all?
Ooh, that inner critic is just, so alive and well, isn't it? So alive and well in us all. Even with, the wonderful things and the awards that I've received, and you seeing me get up on stage, even still today, the critic is still alive. One of the things with that is that you learn to recognize that voice, and then you know that the voice is going to come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You just know it's coming. It's like, okay, come on, bring it on. Go ahead and start telling me all of this, all of my fears. It's really, it's the fear of getting up and being so open and vulnerable. Will they like me? Will they understand what I said? Do I look okay? Will they think this and think that? And sometimes it can be debilitating, and it can cause us, and I'll say me personally, like if I have a glass of wine before I perform, I've done that. I think that's the main thing that I do, or I let those thoughts keep going on and on.
Yeah.
But a way that I've learned to simply get up on stage is just to remember, I say that this voice is not going to beat me. I will rise above this voice. So you can go at it like that aggressive, I'm going to fight it, and it won't win. Other ways I deal with it is I simply breathe. I take really long, deep inhalations through my nose to calm myself down. To physically calm down, I breathe in and I hold it, and then I let it out slowly. And I start to remember, I am prepared for this. This is fun. I get to do this great work. I get to go up here in front of folks and dance around and sing these songs and have fun. It's such a wonderful thing that we get to do. And so the inner critic, it has its place because it's just there. And then once I start singing, I'm about 3 seconds in.
Right?
It goes away.
Right?
It could be 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It gets quieted down.
Yeah.
And I think of this, of the critic as like the mountain that you're climbing. Because as soon as you get to the top, there's just this open, vast, beautiful land.
Yes.
There's silver and gold or whatever, all the ice cream you want, whatever is the best things ever. Yeah. And the critic, I think we can look at it as a thing that reminds us of how important it is to be an artist, how important it is to continue to do what you do, what we do, because we're healers. Music heals. It's healing me. I'm healed over 10 years of dealing with cancer. I'm healed through sharing music, through singing. This inner critic is kind of like showing me how grateful I am, showing me that this is important. Your voice needs to be heard. Your beautiful piano playing needs to be heard.
more than the voice of fear,
Yeah,
right? Like
more than the voice of fear.
So much more.
We
have work to do.
It's almost like Linda Hornbuckle's husband. That's it. We have work to do. Linda Hornbuckle's husband, Mark, he's still alive, Mark Young. When I was doing gigs for Linda and there's this huge crowd showing up to see Linda, and I said, they're all here to see Linda. He's like, do your job. And then the sobering, it's like, okay, I'm here to do my job. Yep, my job is to stand here for my friend, stand here for the children with albinism that were torn apart and their limbs were used. I'm here for them. They didn't have a voice. They can be heard through me. They can be seen through me, or any person who ever felt like they were not good enough, or that they're not smart enough, or they're not rich enough. They're certainly not pretty enough. We're standing here for all of them. So how can I not do my job?
Yes. Preach. Preach. Yeah, you've just kind of blown my mind in so many different ways, because I think that the inner critic and also just like all the things that are stemmed in performance anxiety, it's really when we get that bubble that's so tightly locked in and around us, like, how will people perceive me, or who are people here to see, or what are they going to think, or how do I look, or, am I going to make a mistake? It's like all these things that are like, it's like you're a straitjacket, but it's all like formed around you, the person that's performing. And everything you're talking about is like, show up, do your job, remember the people that couldn't be here today to do what you're doing. Like, stand for something bigger
than the fear.
Yeah, because the fear really, people have a lot of hypotheses about it, but the bottom line is that it stops us from doing our jobs. Mm-hmm. And we all have important work to do. We all have, right? These really important roles as musicians. That's so unique.
It's very unique.
And everything you just said about like what you stand for, it's like, oh God, that's so powerful to hear.
Mm-hmm. And I won't say it's easy. It's difficult.
Of course not. Yeah.
It's like, and I encourage every artist to find a way to soothe yourself. Find your way, prayerfully not through drugs and alcohol, either by breathing, either by stretching, either by just simply talking to yourself. You can do this, girl. It don't matter what you look like. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Just go on and do it. Just something as simple as that.
Yes.
That's how I talk to me. Just do it. You can do this. You got it. And think about it too. It's not just me. I've got band members too. And I have studied. I have spent years. I have spent months, days, years, hours with this craft and practicing and working on this. So you know what I mean? So have some assurance in that. I've rehearsed. I think I know all my lyrics. If not, they're on an iPad.
Exactly.
There are safety nets for us, but just push beyond that fear. I encourage us to keep pushing beyond the fear, and the voices might get softer, but if they're always there.
Kind of along that similar vein, how do you honor your mind, body, spirit as a musician, or actively honor your authentic voice? Mm-hmm. You may have already touched on this, but is there any other part of you that would touch on any of that?
My authentic voice.
What does that even mean to you?
But you know what it means to me? Earlier in my career, I heard someone say, "Oh, you take the songs and do them your own way or whatever," and I was like, yeah, because I don't know how to sound like Aretha Franklin. Because I don't sound like Bill Withers. I can't, I'm not Stevie Wonder. So I don't know how to be anything other than me. And I try to be the best me. Because I'm not a dancer. I mean, I'm not going to get up there like Janet Jackson and them and do all that. Beyonce. I mean, I can't do all of that. So I just have to offer me. That's all, my authenticity. Right. I can sing. I can invite you in and we can sing together. I can. Also speaking to that is I'm starting now finally to sing more of my original music. That's my authentic voice. What I have written, is my authentic voice. These are actually my words. And I earlier in my career, I didn't really honor that because I didn't think I had anything important to say. The critic was working on me, child. I've had to box this critic for a long time, and finally I'm where I love my originals. I love doing.
I love your originals.
Yeah, I love doing stuff that I love to do.
Yes.
So in that sense, yes, that's my authentic voice. I don't try to put on any airs. I don't sing pop music because I don't sound like a pop music artist. Mm-hmm. So I'll sing the song if you want me to, but that's not what I'm going to choose. You know what I mean? I'll make it my own. Yeah. That's what I do with each song, is that I take it and I make it my own.
So would you say that's your why, being you and can't be anybody else? So what is your why in music? Why music? Why do it? I mean...
Why music? There's been this soundtrack through my entire life. Music is so present and ever present with me that I can't really do anything else. I've tried other jobs and they have been jobs, but this is something that I'm good at. I mean, I have very low vision. We talked about the albinism, ocular albinism. So I'm legally blind. So I'm using all of my resources, and each time that I even just leave the house, Lord have mercy. But music it's something that I can do and that I do well, that I can study, that I can be free in as much as my voice will allow, as much as I can be. So yeah, nothing else brings me this joy and the connection with spirit and with people. Nothing else does it. So I'm like addicted to it, I guess. Does that sound like?
Sounds like a great addiction.
Yes. It's the best addiction. So.
Yes. And, you were talking about stepping into writing your own original music, and this segues me into your beautiful and inspirational original piece that you chose to share that listeners will get to hear in its entirety at the end, which I absolutely love. It's just beautiful. And it's titled New Name.
Yes. It came from a service, a unity service that I was doing in West Lynn with Victoria Etchemendy. I think it's called the Burning Bowl ceremony. And it happens at the turn of the year. Instead of being like, what are my resolutions for? What are my New Year resolutions? It's like going deeper. What is it that Spirit has for me to do this year? What is it that God is putting in my heart, in my mind for me to be, to do? And so part of that ceremony was to meditate, take a few minutes and listen to Spirit and to ask, what, Spirit, what is for me today? Is it to be forgiving? Is my name forgiveness? Is my name letting go of fear? Is my name power? Whatever God is speaking to you. And so that's your new name. You write that name down, and you put it in I don't know if we even put it in envelopes, but we wrote it down. And then what am I letting go to be this? So I'm letting go of fear. So I take fear and write it down. We put it in the burning bowl. Or you take it home and you meditate on it and you burn that thing up and say, my intention is to be fearless this year. Or my name is fearless. My name is love. My name is compassion. My name is non-judgmental. So that's where that came from. And so I wrote the song, and I'm thinking, I've got a new name. That's why it says I wrote my letter to God and told God the desires of my heart. And I listened to the voice. So I've shifted from my head to my heart. So there's a new life. There's a new way to look at life, a new way to be.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And what an important practice.
It really is. You can do that every day. My goodness.
I need to do that every day.
And me too.
That's beautiful. I love this piece. It's so inspiring, and I know that listeners will get so much out of hearing it too. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, can I say one more thing about this song?
Oh my gosh, say all you want about it.
So when we were in the studio doing this song, the band was playing and I was kind of in the booth doing a scratch track. And then they had gotten to the end of the song, the end of the song, but the last end of the song was completely improvised.
Really?
Completely improvised. The vocal is actually from, a lesser mic that I was standing in the, booth with the engineer. I was just kind of singing on it so that the guys could follow, but they went somewhere and then I went somewhere. So the whole second half of the song, the whole last bit of the song, it's improvised. Oh, and it was I can't tell you, I just started crying in the studio because it was so from the heart, and what they played and the response, and it was just delicious.
That's just when you are on the right path. Like you are open to inspiration so that you can be the vessel for it, right? Like you came up, this idea found you found this idea, and then it just was like, all right, let's speak. It sounds like it was yes, it was just, yes, magic. That, and we feel that sometimes when we perform. Not all the time. I will be honest and say, not all the time do you feel that inner connection with spirit, life, God, creator, and people. It's almost like in church they would call it the anointing, but it's like this frequency, whatever, I'm using all these words, but even if you're a graphic artist, or you're a whatever type of artistry you do, that feeling. Right. And when you're like, oh, this is it. Any type of artistic endeavor. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. I'm so glad that you added that. Well, before we wrap up here, LaRhonda, is there any final nugget of inspiration or wisdom that you can give to musicians out there that want to continue to embrace their authentic musical voice or want to find it?
One of the main messages that I am continually learning is to not be distracted by someone else's gift, to not compare yourself to others, because your authenticity is yours. Their authenticity is theirs. Be you. Do you. You are magnificent. What's coming through you is necessary. And so we have to remind ourselves that. So whatever you need to do, which is get quiet by yourself or plug your ears when you're around everybody else and breathe and listen to your heartbeat and come back to that remembrance that my voice needs to be heard, my art needs to be shown, and it's not any better or any worse than anybody else's. You can have some fun with that on your own time, but we all kind of do that kind of, well, she sounded like, but you have to we're all human, yes. You get back to that place where you always stay in touch with you. Always stay in touch with you, and don't compare yourself to others, and remember to grow, to just keep growing, just keep trying something new, and remember that music and art, there should be some joy in there. So stay in touch with your joy. My goodness, please stay in touch with your joy. Don't, oh boy, because everything else is kind of pulling an artist down. The fear, the money, maybe I should have more of this or more of that, but don't lose track of the joy and why you started. Is that good?
Oh, it's great. Thank you, LaRhonda. So how can people best get in touch with you? I have down here LaRhondaSteele.com as your website, and I'll make sure to put that in the show notes. Do you have socials people can find you on?
I have the Instagram.
What's your handle?
I think it's LaRhonda Steele. See, I didn't come up with anything creative.
You don't need to.
No. And on Facebook, it's interesting. I have the LaRhonda Steele Band, and I have my own LaRhonda Steele, and I have I'm kind of in charge of the Portland Interfaith Gospel Choir. Yeah, and I have an email, LaRhondasing@gmail.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I hope listeners will get in touch with you, or if they're in the Portland area, check out the LaRhonda Steele band.
I hope y'all do.
Definitely find her on all the platforms, Spotify, and anywhere else you find your music.
Yeah, the YouTubes.
Yep. Yes. Find her, hear her music. It will rock you to your core in the best way. Well, that's all for now. Until next time, be you and stay inspired. And now the full version of New Name.
I wrote my letter, the desires of my heart. I listened to the still small voice, and there's been a shift from my head to my heart. A new dawn, a new day to start. I've got a new name, I've got a new name. What's mine to do, I stand down and claim. I've got a new name, I've got a new name. Behold, old things, they're passed away. Only love remains. Sweet Spirit, be revealed in, through, and as me. Let my new much from you right now. Help me, Lord.
Heads up, friends. We're also on Patreon. This podcast was created to support every creative, so if you like the work that we're doing, please consider subscribing to help us continue making content and grow our community. For just $7 a month, you'll not only be supporting more resources for musicians, but you'll also gain access to downloadable journal prompt PDFs with insightful questions that will help you go deeper with the conversations in each episode.